Tonight, the Carolina Hurricanes are looking to close out their second round series against the New Jersey Devils and advance to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time since 2019. Myself and Andrew discuss how the Hurricanes can do that and mistakes they need to avoid in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. We are your hosts, Jared, Ellis, and Andrew Schnittker, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, this episode is brought to you by the lovely folks over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. And tonight, the Carolina Hurricanes are looking to punch their ticket back to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time since the 2018-2019 season. We thought the Florida Panthers could do it last night. Toronto was able to stay alive in their series. So now the Hurricanes are looking to be the first team to punch their ticket to the conference final. And it is not going to be easy. We saw it last night. Toronto was playing like their backs were against the wall against the Florida Panthers. And that's what the Devils are going to be doing tonight because, like we said yesterday, it's win or go home for them.
Yeah, winning an elimination game, you have to take it that one step further. You have to have that killer instinct to be able to match that desperation. So, I think if you're the Hurricanes, you have to play with a similar level of desperation tonight and just thinking, you don't want to go back to New Jersey. You want to close this thing out on your home ice. We saw it in the first round. They had a chance to close out the Islanders in Game 5 on home ice and couldn't get it done. The Islanders won that game. The Hurricanes end up going back to New York and closing it out in Game 6. But, yeah, there is going to be a huge push from the Devils tonight, and the Hurricanes are going to have to, I think, use that home crowd to their advantage, play – obviously start a whole lot better than they did in Game 4. But other than that, try to capture what you captured in that second period of Game 4.
Yeah, and like you said, the home crowd, I think, is going to be a very, very big factor in this. We all know how loud PNC Arena can get. It's going to blow out your eardrums, wear earplugs. But, like you said, New Jersey, they're going to be coming out hard, and the Hurricanes really need to match that level of desperation. They need to play desperate enough to move on to the next round. That's what the Hurricanes need to be doing tonight. And one thing I do think will help them tonight is something we've talked about already this series, but their playoff experience, because they have way more than the New Jersey Devils as a whole. And like you said, they couldn't close out at home against the New York Islanders. And I do think that's going to be a mistake that they are looking to rectify here. They realized, hey, we messed up in that game. And obviously the Islanders are a different team than the Devils, but they didn't match that the way they should have. And they know that, and that's going to be something that they are trying to do tonight. And, we're asking ourselves, what can the Hurricanes do to come away with that win tonight? First off, again, match that desperation. And playing a full, complete team game is going to be very key here. Like we've seen in all of their wins this series, it's guys up and down the lineup contributing. So far in this playoff, they've had 14 different goal scorers in the playoffs so far. And we've said it so many times, this team is at their best when they are playing a full, complete game. It's not falling on the shoulders of just one person. I go back a lot to that game up in Edmonton where Andrei Svechnikov got his first career regular season hat trick, and the Hurricanes still lost because no one else kind of stepped up to help support him in that game. And a team game is going to be really key here tonight.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's what you've seen from the Hurricanes. We've talked about it quite a bit so far in these playoffs with the different guys that have stepped up, like a Jordan Martinook, like a Jesper Fast, like a Jesperi Kotkaniemi. like a Jordan Stahl, who's maybe produced a little bit more offensively than you're used to seeing from him. So I think that's going to be important. But you look too, tonight's that you're back on home ice. You've got that last change that Rod Brind'amour was able to use so effectively in the first two games and getting, Jordan Stahl matched up against Jack Hughes' line and being able to shut him down. And by the same token, that means that he should be able to find some more favorable defensive matchups for Sebastian Aho tonight.
Yeah, one thing we were talking about while they're here in games 1 and 2 is Jordan Stahl going up against Jack Hughes and how he was just able to shut him down completely and was almost a total non-factor in those first two games. And then go up to New Jersey. Rod couldn't get that matchup that he was wanting, and we saw what happened there. Another big thing for me tonight is going to be playing the full 60 minutes. Second, that first puck drops to the final horn, the Hurricanes need to be playing and not, take their foot off the gas and, just coast through the game, because New Jersey, again, they're going to be playing for their season at this point. So if you start to let up a little bit, they're going to take advantage of that. We've seen that many times before where the Hurricanes, they get that lead, they back off, they get a little comfortable, and then the other team comes back. I remember that game up in Minnesota where I believe it was Pyotr Kochekov's first loss of the season, if I remember correctly. They had like a 2-0 lead, or no, it was a 1-0 lead kind of late, and then Minnesota kind of came back and won it in overtime. And the Hurricanes let off the gas, and that's not something they can do tonight. And I'm not necessarily saying run up the score or anything like that. Just keep applying the pressure. If the score ends up being what we've seen throughout this series, really on both sides, then whatever. That's just kind of the tail of the tape for this series right now. Of the team that wins by a very large margin. If that happens, then that happens. But
the team that loses, your goalie is not finishing the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, you really don't want to give the Devils anything tonight. And in doing that, they're really going to need to limit mistakes tonight. Don't let the Devils, coax you into taking stupid penalties or anything like that. That's going to be important as well.
Yeah, maybe don't, attempt a soft clearing pass, right directly through the heart of your defensive zone, middle of the ice, that ends up on Timo Meyer's tape between the face-off circles. It's maybe something that they should try not to do tonight. But it's going to be, I'm talking about Brett Pesce, but he bounced back really well in that game after that. So he's what I'm going to be watching tonight. But yeah, I think, if you're the Hurricanes, you're wanting to play your game, play sound defense, let that defense feed your offense, get your defensemen involved, moving the puck up the ice, jumping into the play, getting shots off from the point that can create rebounds and chaos in front of the net for your forwards.
Yeah, that's going to be really important. The defensemen are really going to have to play a big role in this game. We know how good they can be offensively. I believe the record was, or I believe combined they went for 60 points this season as a whole for the defensive core. It was something like that. It was crazy. And we also know just how good these guys are defensively. And I saw earlier before we started recording was 5-on-5 failed play percentage in the good way. Not, you gave up way too much. You had 6 Hurricanes in the top 50 here of lowest failed plays, with number 1 being Brett Pesce, having only a 9% fail rate in the regular season. Then you had Brent Burns at number 2 at 10%. Then Jacob Slavin at 14 at 12%. Then you had Jalen Chatfield at 31% at 31st in the 31st spot. Excuse me, I cannot talk this morning. At 14%, and wow, I cannot count. It was 4 Hurricanes. I don't know why I said 6, but yeah, the Hurricanes can really shut down guys this season, and that's going to be something they need to do. And actually, there was another one, Calvin DeHaan at 22nd, also at 14%. I overlooked him there. But yeah, the Hurricanes are really, really good defensively, and that's going to be something they need to continue tonight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, the way that we saw it in the first two games on home ice. I think that's exactly the energy you should be looking to capture tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Don't give these guys anything, just yeah, don't give them anything. Keep the pressure on the entire time. And another place they're extremely good at that is the penalty killing, and that is going to need to stay elite. It is still operating at a league high amongst playoff teams at 93.1%. And that's going to be really, really important as well. That hasn't been something we've really, worried about all playoff, and even in the losses, penalty kill is still something that we can take away as a positive. So I'm not really worried about that. With the penalty kill, it's just keep doing what they're doing. Stop broke. Don't try to do anything crazy. Just keep doing what you're doing with the penalty kill. Power play, I expect, we're kind of going to see same units that we saw in game 4. I don't expect any changes there, nor with the lineup as a whole. We'll talk about that more later. But another important thing tonight, again, closing it out, you get extra rest tonight. We talked about that yesterday of the way the West is looking right now, of those series going really long. If the Hurricanes are able to close it out tonight, they get a lot more extra rest because they're not going to start the conference final until the West is ready or just about to be ready. So that can benefit a guy like Antti Raanta. We'll talk about him later. Benefit Teuvo Teravainen and guys that have just, they're just sore. They can have a few extra days to rest, get to be 100%. We saw how that was able to help them at the start of this series. They had a little bit extra rest compared to the Devils. So that can be something that helps them in the next round, whether it be the Florida Panthers, who I think we're still hoping is the case, or if Toronto makes the comeback, they're able to, have a big leg up on Toronto, because at that point, that series would have to go 7 games.
Yeah, like you said, if the Hurricanes win tonight, they'd be the first team into the conference finals. You get the rest versus rust argument sometimes, but I think once you get into this point of the playoffs, you want the rest because, like you said, you've been playing this much hockey for this long. The games are so intense, so physical. Pretty much everybody is banged up in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And I think the time off, especially again with a team like the Hurricanes, when theoretically every extra day that you're in these playoffs and that you're waiting to play increases the likelihood of a Teuvo Teravainen returning at some point. I think closing it out tonight would really benefit them in that regard.
Yeah, I really do think it's going to help. At this point, I don't think we'd really deal with a whole lot of rust from them because they've been playing for so long now. I think, and it's not like they're just going to be doing what we're doing, sitting at home on the computer, or, anything like that. No, they're still going to be going to Invisalign Arena and practicing their butts off. They're really not going to develop a whole lot of rust if they do close it out tonight. That is, I think, really, not a huge argument. I think that's kind of more coming back from the All-Star break or something like that, where you're kind of on vacation. These guys are not going to be on vacation if they close out tonight. They're still going to be working really, really hard. But we've mentioned Teuvo Teravainen and Antti Raanta. We've mentioned those guys and what we could potentially expect from them later in the series. But what can we expect from them tonight? We will talk about that right after this quick break, folks. Now, buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easiest way to buy tickets for all of the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you will have. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals to tickets right up to the day of the event, so they can help you out tonight with Game 5. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. I mean, you look at what we're wearing. I'm wearing a New England Patriot shirt. I believe Andrew's wearing a Kansas City Royals shirt. If you're wanting to go to any of these games, Gametime has you covered. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You don't have to worry about getting surprised by a pole in your way or anything like that. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to worry about digging through your email because that is never fun. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Now, tonight, what can we expect from the Carolina Hurricanes on the ice? And it's pretty much going to be what we saw in the last game. The Hurricanes were practicing this morning at Invisalign. No, it was at PNC Arena. Excuse me. We're just talking about Invisalign Arena. But Freddie Anderson was in the starters crease this morning at morning skate, which is what we expected. Really, he's the hot set of hands right now. Why change it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mentioned this after Game 4. You look at what Frederik Andersen has done in this series in Game 6 against the Islanders. He's been really good in 4 out of 5 of his starts. He's been the guy. Like I said, if you weren't able to get Antti Raanta in for the games in New Jersey with him just coming off illness, I don't think this is the right game to throw him back in there when it's going to be so intense and you're trying to close it out. I have no issue going with Frederik Andersen, but I think Antti Raanta getting healthy is a good thing because I do think, if the Hurricanes get through this, clinch tonight or clinch in Game 6 on Saturday or whatever, they get into the Eastern Conference Final, I think they're still going to need more than one goalie at some point. I do not believe we have seen the last of Antti Raanta in these playoffs.
Oh, absolutely not. I don't think we've seen the last of Pyotr Kochetkov either, to be honest. I think we're going to see all 3 of the guys play again. And speaking of Antti Raanta, one thing Rod Brind'amour mentioned to the media following morning skate this morning was that he is confident Antti Raanta will be healthy enough to back up tonight. And that's, again, really, really good. Don't necessarily expect him to be playing tonight, but just the fact that he is healthy enough to suit up is a very, very good sign. We've kind of felt that way with Freddie Andersen in the first round, with him dealing with illness, just being able to just be healthy enough to do that. That's a sigh of relief because of how good he has been this playoff. And there were no lineup changes in morning skate. Everything looks to be running it back from Game 4. Not a problem with that. They played great in Game 4, aside from like the first 10 minutes. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Teuvo Teravainen was also skating in a yellow no contact jersey. His timetable for return from his injury was like 4 to 8 weeks. We are at that 4-week mark now. So, no, we're not. No, we're not. I don't know how to tell time, but we're getting close to that 4-week mark, excuse me. And, not expecting to see him anytime soon, if we do even see him at all. But again, like we said earlier, just the fact that he can be out there skating, doing stuff, getting in the right direction. And before we know it, he'll be back playing on the ice. But as far as the no lineup changes, Freddie in the starter's net, I got no problem with that at all. And we talk about, guys stepping up this series in this playoff with the tons and tons and tons of guys that are out for the Hurricanes. Players to watch. Jordan Martinook, obviously, that's kind of a no-brainer. He's having a Connor McDavid, Wayne Gretzky-esque series now with 9 points in 4 games, 3 goals, 6 assists. So obviously you're going to be looking at him to continue his level of play that he's been at. Though, on the flip side of that, because of the run that he is on right now, I do honestly expect the Devils to focus on him a bit more than they have been this series.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of almost have to with the way that he's playing right now and the impacts that he's making, scoring goals, making plays. Going to be interesting to see, kind of where the coaching matchup chess match goes there. Another guy, Martin Necas, I think a guy that everyone thought the Hurricanes have needed more from in these playoffs. Scores 2 big goals, the game tying goal and the game winning goal in game number 4, kind of get the Hurricanes going. 2 really skilled plays, just getting it alone and settling a bouncing puck and firing it right in the right shot. We've seen Martin Necas come up huge in playoff games at home ice before. Everybody remembers that wraparound game tying goal he had against Nashville in game 5, I believe, in 2021. So he's another guy I think, he's kind of a guy who thrives on confidence, on streaks, on getting going. So with him having, had that big game 4 with a couple of goals, he's somebody I could definitely see making a big impact again tonight.
Yes, and you bring up that game against Nashville just brought back good memories because I was at that game. That was the double overtime winner where Jordan Stahl scored that double overtime winner, and the place just went absolutely ballistic. I literally blew out my voice cheering so hard in that game. I couldn't talk for like 2 days afterwards. That was so much fun.
Well,
But
because that series wasn't that series like that was like right that series was like the first time they were able to have like anything close to a normal capacity crowd after COVID. I think so. Those
mhm.
games were even more like I think that added to the atmosphere in that series.
Oh yeah, it was so freaking fun. But yeah, getting back to this series, yeah, Marty Necas, he's going to be a guy that the Hurricanes are really going to be having to look uh, to step up his game tonight. They need everyone to. But yeah, Jordan Martin, Marty Necas, those are two that really stick out. Another one that I would also like to see is Jesperi Kotkaniemi. We saw what he did in game 2 against the Devils, and at the end of that Islanders series, it really just felt like he was knocking on the door, ready to break it down and break out in the next series. And he has for the most part. And I would like to see him, get back to it. And, the Hurricanes saw a lot in him when they made that offer sheet, when they gave him that 8-year extension. And he has really paid off this season, really elevating his play, regular season, and now in the playoffs as well. And I really want to see him play a big factor in this game as well. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I think that Jesperi Kotkaniemi is a guy that we could see play really well for the Hurricanes tonight. You saw what he did with those, I think, 2 goals in game 2, scored in game 1. So he's been primarily centering that Jordan Martinook, Jesper Foss line. So, he's got some hot wingers with him to help him get going again.
Hmm.
The other guy, obviously, I think, though, that I think we're going to hear from tonight is Sebastian Aho. Did not factor much into game 4, didn't have a point. We talked about him being able to get free maybe a little bit more with Brind'amour having less change. He's a goal shy of matching his postseason career high of 6, which he set in 2021. This being such a big game, such an elimination game. We've seen Aho rise to the task a lot in these playoffs. He's the Hurricanes' go-to guy. I think he will be heard from tonight.
I definitely agree with you there. This is one of those games where you want your top guys to play like top guys. And Sebastian Aho is the Hurricanes' top guy. So I definitely do see him playing a big factor in this game, whether it's scoring goals, whether it's setting up other guys, notching up assists, or defensively as well. I think he's going to be a guy where he's playing like a man possessed. He is a guy that's all over the ice. Kind of what we've been seeing from Jordan Martinook this series is what I think we can likely see from Sebastian Aho. Maybe not the Gretzky-esque numbers that Martinook is putting up right now, but just that high level of play is what we're going to see from Sebastian Aho tonight. His point streak did come to an end in that last game, like we talked about, ended at 6 games, which is a franchise record there. So, it's not like it's a bad thing that it ended. He still set a franchise record. But speaking of point streaks, we got guys that are hot right now. We talked about Jesper Foss and Jordan Martinook, alongside Jesper Kotkaniemi. I think that's going to be good for him. And both of those guys, along with Jordan Staal, are on 4-game point streaks right now. You mentioned Jordan Staal earlier, talking about how he's been contributing offensively. Jacob Slavin is also on a 3-game point streak with 3 assists. And these are going to be guys, they're on these streaks. They're hot right now. They got to keep going.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to need to be another all hands on deck kind of night for the Hurricanes. And with so many guys playing so well right now, I think you can feel confident in that happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And, game 5, it's just a few hours away. It'll be here before we know it. And we're going to give our predictions on that game right after this quick break, folks. Now, if you are going to the game, or if you're not able to go to the game tonight, make sure you are listening over on Sirius XM, where you can check out all of the home team broadcasts. If you're wanting to listen to the Hurricanes home team broadcast, if you're wanting to listen to the Kraken, hear John Forsland, just how great he is, you can do so on Sirius XM. Just search up the NHL channel over on Sirius XM or the SXM app. Now, predictions for tonight's game. We've talked about how tough of a game this is going to be for the Hurricanes. And we've seen a lot of blowouts in this series. Well, every game's been a blowout in this series. But honestly, I'm not expecting that tonight. I'm really not. I'm expecting a pretty close game because, like we've been saying, New Jersey is going to be playing desperate because their season is on the line. The Hurricanes are going to be playing desperate because they're wanting to close this series out and not have a repeat of the first round where they have to close out on the road. I think this is going to be a pretty tightly contested game. We're not going to see 5-1, 6-1, 8-4. We're not going to see that tonight.
I'm going to say 4-1 Hurricanes, but I think it's going to be close for most of it, like a 2-1 game, maybe even a couple empty netters or a late goal to go ahead more plus an empty netter when the Devils start to push. But yeah, I think you're going to see a little bit more of a lower scoring game tonight. It's going to be closer for most of it, just with the Devils being so desperate, and hopefully the Hurricanes matching that with wanting to close out on home ice.
Yeah, and definitely that makes me think of that game 3 up in Long Island, how it was super close almost the entirety of the game, and then just at the end of the game, the Islanders broke out and ran up the score a bit. I definitely see something like that. I don't see, if it gets to be like 4-1, 5-1, whatever, I think it's definitely going to be a lot of towards the end of the game. The Devils are going to be on their A+ game. Everything that they've done wrong in the 3 games that they have lost and the Hurricanes have won, I think they are, got their eyes glued to that tape, looking like, all right, this right here, Dougie, don't do this. This right here, Luke Hughes, Jack Hughes, these mistakes that they have been making, they're going to try to eliminate those entirely and not give the Hurricanes an even sniff of an opportunity and blood in the water. They're not going to be giving the Hurricanes anything at all.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think this is going to be, again, these games are harder for a reason. You have to match the desperation level of your opponent, have that killer instinct. One other interesting thing I think for tonight, we're recording this at like a little before 1, so we haven't seen it yet. It's who the siren sounders are going to be for this big game. They always go bigger in the playoffs. I'm wondering when, if at all, even if maybe tonight we might see Bryce Young, the recent number 1 overall pick of the Carolina Panthers, out there.
You never know. That's could be a possibility. You could also see LaMelo Ball from the Hornets. You could see him as well. There's no telling who they could bring out tonight. Did they bring out Dale Earnhardt Jr.? I don't know.
I feel like you saved that for like the conference finals or the cup finals.
Yeah.
Dennis Smith Jr. would be cool. He had a pretty good year for the Hurricanes or not the Hurricanes, the Hornets, and is obviously a Fayetteville native. Played his 1 year of college basketball at NC State.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. The Hurricanes have really been going all out. I think, one that we all really liked was former NC State offensive tackle, now with the Carolina Panthers, Akeem Ekwonu. I think we all love that. And hopefully just whoever they have doesn't break the siren.
Like current Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Isaiah Moore did.
Yep. Yeah, you never man, it's going to be fun. I definitely think they're going to go all out with the siren sounders tonight in the next round and Stanley Cup final round. They're going to go all out with these guys. They're going to keep going bigger and bigger. You never know. They could bring out oh gosh. There's just so many names coming to mind. Do they get Coach K? He did it in the bubble with the little recording siren sounds.
Yeah.
That was cool. That would be cool. Whether or not he'd do it, I don't know, but that would be
I'm
a
not sure
really,
where
really
he's at.
fun one.
I'm not sure where he's hanging out these days.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure where he's at. He's enjoying retirement, but
Yeah.
you can go listen to Locked On Blue Devils for all of that stuff. And make sure you guys are tweeting your predictions at us at LO_Hurricanes. We want to know what you guys are thinking about tonight's game. You can also tweet us at Jared Ellis_96. You can tweet Andrew at a Schnitt53, his Jeff Skinner tribute in his Twitter handle. And make sure, again, guys, you have fun tonight, whether you are watching the game in person, whether you're at a watch party, whether you are listening on Sirius XM. Have fun with the game tonight, guys. And as always, let's go Canes, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.